Hello, my name is Leslie Audrey, and today my group mates, Daphne, Alia, Jude, and I will be presenting on 4 literatures that we have looked at and how these literatures present or demonstrate survival. The 4 literatures include The Lottery, I Stand Here Ironing, Girl, and Hills Like White Elephants. The Lottery is a short story about a small town that has a strange annual ritual that they call the lottery. It was written by Shirley Jackson and was published in 1948. I Stand Here Ironing was written by Tilly Olsen and was published in 1961. Girl was written by Jamaica Kincaid and was published in 1978, whereas Hills Like White Elephants was written by Ernest Hemingway and was published in 1927. Before we start, allow me to explain the meaning of survival. According to the English Thesaurus, survival means the state or fact of continuing to live or exist, typically in spite of an accident, ordeal, or difficult circumstances.
We all perfectly know that human nature is full of flaws. Humans are capable of violence, cruelty, rage, and these emotions are primitive to human nature. Historical facts such as Holocaust, war, terrorism prove how cruel and violent humans can be to each other. In the story The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, we can observe what the instinct of survival does to human nature and how ugly it can be. In a small town where the survival of the community directly depends on agriculture, people hold a tradition to have a good harvest, to sacrifice one in order to survive. The victim in the story, Tessie Hutchinson, clearly does not want to die. In order to survive, she raises her voice, blames Mr. Summers, and tries to argue with the community by saying it was unfair. To save her own skin, she is even ready to throw under the bus her own daughter and the son-in-law. No one speaks up against the lottery until they themselves are in danger. The conformity to the ritual and conformity to the society is the main reasons why this tradition is still alive. The survival is always self-interest. In the lottery, people are so inhumane that even little Davy Hutchinson, who is not capable of following commands in order to take the paper from the box, has to participate, and he doesn't even understand the reason behind the tradition. As well as from the start of the lottery, villagers rush to finish the lottery fast so they can continue with their plans for the day. The inhumanity of the villagers, which has been developed by repeated exposure to the lottery. Also the tools used in order to kill the person are stones, which in this story serves as a symbol of the Dark Ages, and how this tradition is still alive in relatively modern societies because of the survival instinct. The literal survival, the instinct, which ironically helps us to stay alive but not to really live. In the story I Stand Here Ironing by Tilly Olsen, we can see the consequences of survival. The woman who was surviving and not stopping for a minute to live and realize what is around her. However, when she has that chance, she's overwhelmed with a sense of guilt, responsibility for her own mistakes, for failing her daughter, and feeling of helplessness. Poverty, hard labor, difficult times, and circumstances of life are catalysts of survival. The narrator and the mother of Emily are doing her best alone, raising a child after war in times of depression. It is already hard to take care of herself, but there is also a child. And in order to survive together, she does things that she's aware that may not be best for her child. Also, a mother in the story is overwhelmed with a sense of guilt and realization of what trying to survive did to her oldest daughter. However, she's not taking full responsibility for that, and she blames difficult times. The consequences of survival in the story is emotional neglect of her daughter. Therefore, Emily is a reserved child. She kept too much in herself. Moreover, in order to survive as a family, Emily's role from the daughter changes to second mom, nanny, helper. She was everybody to help her mother to survive as a family in difficult times. She had to set her seal. In the story, I stand here ironing, surviving and not leaving not only affected the mother, but also affected Emily. She's a shy, anxious, reserved, talented child that may never realize her talent, as well as Emily resents her sister. She was a child without a childhood, and this will haunt her for the rest of her life.
Humans are social creatures. We have an innate need to belong to a community, and it helps us to make sense of the world around us. Besides, a social hierarchy is put in place to ensure that all members of the community knows their place in it. The social hierarchy can also be seen as a game of survival. There are certain rules that an individual needs to play to remain their current social standing or to advance to the next tier in the social hierarchy. In the short story Girl by Jamaica Kincaid, the mother is indirectly playing this game of survival and fitting in society. She is always advising her daughter on how to become a lady and how to fit in. She tries to pass on the survival skills that she has learned from experience to her daughter in hopes that she will secure a good place in society and to have a great future. In her mother's perspective, domestic dominance is the key to survival. If her daughter knows how to manage her household well, she will be respected in the society. She teaches her daughter how to become a proper lady by dressing and interacting with the other members of the society appropriately. On Sundays, try to walk like a lady and not like the slut you are so bent on becoming. This is how you hem a dress when you see the hem coming down, and so to prevent yourself from looking like the slut you're so bent on becoming. Don't sing Benna on Sundays at all. This is how you smile to someone you don't like at all. This is how you smile to someone you like completely. All of the mother's efforts is to ensure that her daughter fits in and thrives in society. She wants her daughter to become a respected lady. This is how to make ends meet. Always squeeze the bread to make sure that after all, you are really going to be the kind of woman who the baker won't let near the bread. The theme of survival is also seen in the short story Hills Like White Elephant by Hemingway. The decision made by the girl to have an abortion is indirectly motivated by the survival of her reputation as a lady and the survival of her relationship. This is because the American man has subtly presented her with an ultimatum of having the baby or losing him. "You've got to realize," he said, "that I don't want you to do it if you don't want to. I'm perfectly willing to go through with it if it means anything to you." He's clearly not interested in the idea of marriage, and he doesn't want to have the child with her. She will have to choose between having the child or continuing her relationship with the American man. On top of that, it would be almost impossible to have the child on her own because having a child out of wedlock is considered something very sinful at that time. It would be degrading for her because it destroys her image as a respectable young lady in society. So, her decision to have the abortion is her way of surviving in the society. The mother in Kincaid's short story and the girl in Hemingway's short story acted like this because they were concerned about their social status and how others view them. They want to survive the overbearing judgment of the society and to fit in their local community. Now, Junhong will conclude our presentation.
In summary, the authors successfully demonstrate the theme of survival in their stories. They explore beyond just individual survival, but with different times in different places and different people. In all sense, the means of survival fluctuates. Whether it is the basic survival or survival in social sense, the characters acted not so differently. In Hills Like White Elephants, the story refers to hardship of making decisions that would change their lives. The girl has to undergo an abortion, whether it is to influence by the race, reputation, or relationship. It all engaged with survivorship and sustainability. Due to the instinctive action of self-preservation, the girl's act was just to prioritize survival. In the story of I Stand Here Ironing, the story settings were in the harsh times during the Great Depression. The mother mentions the efforts taken to raise her child alone. Sacrifices been made given that she had to send her daughter away to juggle between parenting and childcare. The story strongly emphasized on the theme of survival, as the characters itself live under the period of time where surviving is difficult. The mother and the daughter had went through hard times, and referring to the hardship of survival itself. Similarly with the story in Girl, the mother constantly tries to give advice to her daughter in hoping she could acquire her survival skills. Even though not every advice is efficiently applicable, the overwhelming sense of survival is formed to show how uneasy it is to live as a female in the settings. Lastly, in The Lottery, all the characters seems to have adapted to the terrifying ritual. It symbolizes a strong form of survivorship in the community. Whether it is the resistance of tyranny when life is threatened, or traditionally ingrained rituals that are not questioned. The primary matter of self-interest in the characters is survival.